Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rapid Report, your channel dedicated to political analysis and international news that really matters. Today, we address a crucial and unprecedented topic in American political history: the extremely controversial statements of former President Donald Trump, who calls on the military to focus on what he calls the domestic enemy. This speech comes in a context of unprecedented political tension. National Guard deployments, threats of constitutional procedures such as the 25th Amendment and impeachment, and legal actions that could criminalize political speech. In this video, we will analyze in depth the constitutional implications of these actions, the reactions of lawmakers and experts, the risk to democracy and the balance of powers, and the possible consequences for the United States and the world. Stay with us until the end to understand why this moment could mark a historic turning point in American politics and how every citizen can closely follow these developments. And before continuing, subscribe to our channel, activate the bell to not miss anything, and don't hesitate to like and share this video to inform as many people as possible. In an extremely unusual speech before assembled military officials, former President Donald Trump urged his audience to focus on what he calls the domestic enemy. This statement comes as National Guard units are deployed and political tensions in the United States reach an alarming level. Criticism is pouring in from all sides. Military veterans, legal experts, and even members of Congress believe this rhetoric constitutes a dangerous tipping point for American democracy. According to them, the repeated invocation of internal threats could fuel a climate of fear and justify extraordinary actions against democratic institutions. The specter of the 25th Amendment and impeachment. On the Democratic side, some lawmakers are openly discussing the application of the 25th Amendment or an impeachment process, citing concerns about Trump's mental fitness and erratic behavior. Among these episodes, his obsession with the Greenland annexation was cited as an example of impulsive decisions disconnected from political reality. However, implementing the 25th Amendment seems practically impossible. Vice President J.D. Vance remains loyal to Trump, blocking any attempt to remove the president for incapacity. As for impeachment, it would require Democrats to win the majority in the House in 2026 and then obtain a two-thirds Senate majority for effective removal. A historic first, the executive against Congress. At the same time, Trump ordered the Department of Justice to investigate and indict 6 Democratic lawmakers for encouraging military officials to resist orders deemed illegal. This type of speech is normally protected by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, guaranteeing political freedom of expression. According to legal analysts, this is the first time in U.S. history that a president has attempted to criminalize this type of political expression. Some of the lawmakers concerned only learned of their potential indictment through media leaks, highlighting the growing climate of tension and intimidation. The strategy of fear and the erosion of constitutional power. For many political analysts, Trump's tactic relies on fear and intimidation to silence his critics. Many Republicans remain publicly silent, fearing direct or political retaliation. This dynamic threatens the constitutional balance of powers and pushes the United States toward a model where the executive branch dominates Congress, bringing the country closer to a quasi-autocratic regime. The concern is not limited to politics. It also affects national security. Rhetoric about the domestic enemy can justify the use of force against political opponents, erode public trust in institutions, and create a major institutional crisis towards a threatened democracy. As 2026 approaches and the electoral calendar unfolds, the question of whether the United States can maintain its democratic balance in the face of unprecedented internal pressures remains open. History may remember this moment as a turning point where fear, intimidation, and executive authority were tested in an unprecedented way. Constitutional and political implications of Trump's actions. A dangerous precedent for democracy. The fact that a former president urges the military to focus on the domestic enemy creates an unprecedented precedent in the United States. Historically, the U.S. Constitution relies on the strict separation of powers and civilian control of the armed forces. Here, by mixing partisan politics and military power, Trump risks eroding this separation and weakening the institutional neutrality of the Army. Some experts compare this situation to scenarios observed in authoritarian regimes where fear and intimidation are used to control opponents, thus compromising the system of checks and balances fundamental to the United States. The 25th Amendment crisis, limits and obstacles. The 25th Amendment theoretically allows for the removal of a president deemed unable to fulfill his duties. However, J.D. Vance's loyalty makes this mechanism practically impossible. This raises a troubling question. What happens when constitutional mechanisms designed to protect democracy are paralyzed by personal and political alliances? U.S. institutions could then face a lack of oversight over executive power, a scenario rarely seen in modern U.S. history. Impeachment, a long and uncertain strategy. The impeachment option is even more complex. It would require 1. A Democratic victory in the House in 2026. 2. Two-thirds Senate support to confirm removal. Even if these conditions were met, the process could last several months, during which Trump's actions could continue to influence national and international politics. This shows how U.S. institutional checks, solid on paper, can be ineffective against shrewd political maneuvering and the loyalty of key allies. Criminalizing political speech. A historic first, Trump's decision to ask the DOJ to indict 6 Democratic lawmakers for speech protected by the First Amendment marks an unprecedented rupture. This highlights several dangers. Erosion of political freedom of expression. Elected representatives may now hesitate to criticize the president or his orders for fear of criminal prosecution. Politicization of justice. Using the DOJ for political purposes weakens public confidence in the institution's impartiality. Climate of intimidation. Revelations through the media rather than official procedures amplify fear and uncertainty among political opponents. An army between loyalty and the Constitution. Calling on the Army to monitor the domestic enemy places officers in a delicate position. They must balance their institutional loyalty with orders from controversial political figures. Historically, the U.S. military has always been a pillar of political stability, but this type of speech could create internal fractures and major ethical dilemmas. Some analysts predict that if this tension persists, extreme scenarios such as mutinies or partial paralysis of the chain of command could occur, although this remains unlikely in the short term. Consequences for the American political system. The attack on Congress and the attempt to criminalize political speech contribute to a worrying model. An executive dominating the legislative and judicial branches. Weakening of checks and balances institutions. The rise of a climate of fear, discouraging traditional counterpowers. In the long term, this could redefine political practice in the United States and inspire other leaders to exploit fear and judicial institutions to consolidate power. International reactions and global risks. The international community watches these developments with concern. Traditional U.S. allies such as Europe and NATO could begin questioning American institutional stability, while rival powers may see an opportunity to influence U.S. policy or weaken its global leadership. Internal U.S. tensions could also have repercussions on global security, particularly regarding arms control, military intervention, and strategic diplomacy. There you have it, dear subscribers, our complete analysis of this major political crisis in the United States. As you have seen, Donald Trump's statements and actions taken by his administration have profound implications for democracy, the role of the military, and the balance of powers. If you found this video useful and informative, subscribe now to Rapid Report. Leave a like to support our work, and share this video with your friends and family. Every share helps us spread information reliably and raise awareness on crucial topics. Don't forget to comment below with your impressions. Do you think the United States is on the brink of a historic turning point? Or is it just another episode of political rhetoric? Your opinions matter, and we love reading every comment. Thank you for watching, and see you soon on Rapid Report for more analysis, reports, and political breakdowns that truly make a difference.